But it's not common in other countries, overseas, that if you take a ride, you do it with your right arm. They do it with your left arm high up, and then that's left. That's right. Going to the right. And then they say, well, that's not the signal taking a right.
Dear listener, dear viewer, welcome to episode number 1 of the Boat Bike Tour podcast. My name is Mark Schalekamp and I'm your host. I'm going to speak today with people who really know about boat bike tours, experts, and one of them, and maybe the best of them, is Gijsbert Valstar, because he's a true veteran at boat bike tours. A short introduction of Gijsbert. His whole life basically has been dedicated to traveling by bike. As a child growing up, he went on cycling holidays and camping. This inspiration took him to study traffic engineering, and in his working life, he has been an organizer of cycling holidays all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Gijsbert Valstar, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Is it true, 2015, is that when you started?
I started 2015 with boat bike tours.
Yeah.
But I already in this world, in this scene of cycling holidays since 1982 or somewhat like that. Or 1976 it started with my involvement in cycling tours.
But
Long time ago.
But not in combination with a boat, I guess.
No, that was just in, I think, 1983 or 1984, the first bike and barge tours were starting and brought on the market.
Yeah.
And I was selling them. Not on board, not as a tour guide or production manager or whatever, but selling these tours already. Yeah.
Because that will be the main topic of this first episode. Since you're an expert and you know so much, it's about the concept of boat bike tours.
Yeah.
It's that old. I didn't know that. 83. Yeah. It's
83, 84. Then it started with, I think it was a ship. It was the name Ali Bay. I still know it.
We all know him.
And yeah, there was another one. Yeah, and there was one basic, but the idea was floating with a floating hotel through the Netherlands, and on daytime, the guests were cycling on their trip on land and just show Holland on the bicycle, and it's the best combination.
And it's from what I get from you, it's the same concept. It hasn't changed that much, or is there a difference?
The same idea. It is just a floating hotel, and on daytime the ship is going from one harbor to the others. And we are cycling with the guests also from one harbor to the next, and just to show Holland at its best, or other countries at its best. So it is all concentrated along lakes, rivers, etc. in Holland, but also in the western part of Europe.
Yeah. You mentioned the Netherlands, that's where you started. Boat bike tours operate in a lot of countries in Europe now. I think also in Croatia, Turkey, Italy, Greece. But you've spent most your tours in the Netherlands and Germany. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Belgium.
And Belgium.
Yeah, well, part of Belgium along the river Schelde. It's very nice. Stretched from Amsterdam via Antwerp to Bruges. And it's very popular tour. And of course, I'm also interested in France, but my French is not so good to translate it to all the guests over there. So I'm good in navigating in France, so I can do it together with a colleague who's very well in the language, and I do the navigation. And then it works also quite well, because we are a lot of times with 2 tour guides on one ship.
Yeah. And but are there tours to France already?
Yes, we have also a lot of tours in France. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with smaller ships, because the canals are small, the locks are small, and sometimes they have to go through tunnels. And then you don't need, well, when you are there with a big size ship, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
But there are some ships, and the format is Spits, and they are sailing to France, to Paris, to
Spits?
Bourgogne.
What's spit? That's the
That's
type
the
of the boat.
type of the boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long is it? How tall is it?
I think it is 40 meters and long, and I think six meters wide or something like that. So also the cabins are a bit smaller, but then you can do these tours also in France, and also via Paris and south of Paris in the wine areas. They're
Beautiful.
cycling. Yeah. And we show them on the bike the countryside, the wineries. We visit the wineries. It's very nice. Yeah, it's more hilly as Holland.
Yes, but fortunately, you have e-bikes when it gets too hilly.
Nowadays we have e-bikes, but we offered these tours already when there was no e-bike.
1983.
No,
e-bike,
but also in Holland, it is also not from the last 5-6 years, I think, that the e-bike was coming.
Yeah. Hey, many people who are watching us already spent a holiday at boat bike tours, but someone new to the idea. Can you tell us how a typical day on board, what it looks like?
Well, it's our sailing hotel, so you need some rest. So you have a good cabin.
Yeah.
Different ships. So there are the luxurious ships, the premium ships, and then we have the boutique ships that is a bit smaller, and we have also the cycling cruises. It's also different. But most of the ships, then you have a cabin with your own shower and toilet, and also with air conditioning.
Yeah.
So you need rest after a day of cycling. So you have the rest, and then you start early in the morning.
How early? What time?
Depends, but sometimes at 7:15. But at other tours at 8:00. That's nice, of course.
Okay. You call that late?
It's holiday time. It's holiday time.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's still early.
7:15 breakfast in holiday time. That's that's work.
Okay.
Yeah. And then breakfast, and you compose your own lunch packet.
Yeah.
And then about 9:00 we are all on the bike.
Yeah.
And if it is a guided tour or a semi-guided tour or a self-guided tour, then you are riding to the end of the day, and you get all the information where you are coming along. Or if a guided tour, you are with the guide and he's hosting you and is showing you around, and you make visits and some excursions. And in Holland, of course, cheese. You see where they're making the cheese, and you see windmills and all that kind of stuff. And with the guided tour, of course, you can also ask questions, a lot of questions.
Yeah. But at the end of the biking, you get to the ship, and then because
hopefully you are there.
Your floating hotel has moved towards the new destination.
Yeah.
I remember from my tour that often we could see the ship passing, or we passed the ship, but that was also good.
Yeah.
So we were waving at the captain.
Yeah.
But then you can get back on board, and then you have something to eat. You refresh. You have a shower, maybe. Or
sometimes it's coffee and cake at the end of the afternoon, and then you can shower, of course, and clean up, and then usually at 6:30 we have dinner time. And after dinner time, we do a short briefing for the guest for the program of next day, and where are we going? And for the self-guided tours, semi-guided tours, we have to tell them about navigation, because they are navigating themselves where to go.
These you told me, we just mentioned there are many destinations to go to. What are the destinations you like best? Can you tell me about? You mentioned a few already.
That's complete different. I like cycling. That's the best of it. Going on a cycling holiday, because you are close to the landscape, close to around to people where you're going. The smell of the nature, smell of the cows and so on. So that's real adventure. And
The smell of the cows or what they drop on the ground?
all around. Yes,
Okay.
yes, part of it. And what question I sorry.
Now, yeah, I'd like to know what destinations you like
Oh,
best.
yeah, destination.
And also,
Yep.
Gijsbert, to be well, I'm sure you have many stories. What are your best experiences on boat bike from maybe let's put it from this year? What was something outstanding?
What is interesting? A lot of people have expectations or ideas about what Holland or the Netherlands is or Belgium is, and think, well, flat country, cycling lanes only. But sometimes we know from this country, we have cycling lanes and we have country roads. And country roads, not so much traffic. It's excellent for cycling. And Americans, they say, well, we had great cycling trails today. And cycling trails today, I haven't seen it today, but that were the country roads along the dikes and along the rivers. That's one. What they don't expect is flat country, that we have also wind. And if there's always a breeze, and if you have a headwind, you always remember. If you have a tailwind, you never remember that. And the tailwind for foreign tourists, for foreign cyclists, is usually a storm. And we think it's a breeze. And what we also have in this country, mountains. Yeah, hills, of course, but we call it mountains. So we have also in the dunes, also in the center of Holland and the southern part of the country, we have mountain stages. I say, well, tomorrow we have a mountain stage. And they say, mountains in Holland? Yes, because it is not flat. And of course, bridges, dikes, etc. So it's not completely flat. And that's, for many people, that's special.
The expectation of the country is different than reality. It's less flat for a start. Yes. Yeah. And this wind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember from biking to school, there was always headwind. I never had tailwind. You?
No, but we are prepared, and we are prepared for it.
Yeah.
So we are trained for it, and we have in this country the legs for that. And if you're training a lot of preparing for these tours, you have to prepare a bit, because if you have to use too much energy for cycling itself, then you don't have energy left for enjoying the landscape, enjoying the museums, or enjoying the visits, or guided tours in a city or something like that. So you have to prepare for it. And prepare is just making hours on the saddle. It's not only pedaling, but hours in the saddle. Mm-hmm. And it's not always the saddle sore, but people are not used to sit 5 days in a row on a saddle. And that's also special when they prepare for these tours. They do, we have done a preparation, extra training for 25 kilometers or 30 kilometers. Well, we are each day pedaling about 40 kilometers. That's different. But 5 days in a row, and we are not used to that, and we are not preparing for that.
Yeah.
And in this country, we are used to it. What's special? No, it's fine.
In I think episode number 3, we'll talk more about preparation, because it's essential. Huh? It's important.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And you've been doing this at boat bike tours since 10 years or and before. What makes you keep doing it? What makes you tick? Don't you get bored?
Sometimes, yes. Depends. Depends. Sometimes it's a long season. We start these tours mid-March, at the end of March already, and it is ending, beginning at the end of October. So it's a long season, but I'm not working each week, and also not each week in a row. And then it is, tiring each week to do it. And what is nice, well, you keep on cycling with guests. And what I promote, to give them a very nice holiday, so they continue that. Because cycling holidays, what I told you already, is the best you can do. So I promote cycling. And also to show the country where I'm cycling. If it is River Moselle or River Main or River Rhine or in Belgium or in Holland or in Denmark, you try to show you the country where you are cycling and tell them around what is happening and what's going on around you. So you have also that impressions when you come back home for what I have seen.
But what do you like most about it, about your work? Is you're a true ambassador of cycling, that I get, but it's also the you like to...
It's also healthy.
It's healthy.
I'm also cycling myself with these tours. So each week I do also about 450, 500 kilometers. And that's great. So most
so you
of
stay fit?
You stay fit. And most of the times it's not raining, what a lot of people think. Well, cycling, I don't like that because it's always raining. If I see the complete season, then maybe 2 days there was a lot of rain. And the other days, a lot of sun, a lot of dry weather, and sometimes a shower. But in general, it's great weather for cycling, for cycling tours to do. And sometimes it's boring because there is also bad weather. Then
and what did you do then?
The emotions work on that with the guest. Bad weather for I don't like it anymore. And what's the weather report for tomorrow? Oh, maybe some showers. Then we go again. But they're always happy and cycling. And when they get wet, they survived, and that's just they're impressed.
They achieved something.
Yes, they are impressed about themselves. Yes.
Gijsbert, something else is, I assume that you're a true expert of these countries you've been visiting for so long. Are there certain hidden gems you like to unhide, to share with us?
That's of course dangerous, but usually the unhided places you don't have to tell and to show them around before, and then they're not secret anymore. And not.
But I'm sure that the people listening, they won't tell their neighbors. They would.
Okay, good guests. Yeah, welcome. Come again. It's the smaller things. Just when you're cycling with a group and you're passing a farm, and sometimes you haven't been there before, or just cycling along, but not visiting. And
can you be specific? Can you mention
passing them with your guest, and you explain what's going on, and then, maybe I'm the self-made expert. I make the story. Maybe it's not complete right, but the guests are interested and get a lot of information and take it home. Or think about it and come later on or in the evening with more questions about it. And then they say, well, that was a good day, because they are interested in it.
But still, some true hidden gems, some hidden... I'm Dutch. I know my country quite well, but please tell me, where should I go in the Netherlands or in Belgium?
Oh, at some places I go on the Veluwe in the center, and there's a nature reserve, and there's a small place where they also serve coffee, and that's not on the route. And then I go there, and it's excellent and quiet, relaxing, and a lot of information about the nature around. And that's also that I'm not telling to my colleagues, for otherwise it's too busy over there. And so I think all the tour guides have the kind of hidden places they are not telling around, but it is that makes their own tour and own specialty, and also that gives the energy to continue these tours and to guide.
Yes, because it's really personal, right? It's the things you like, you designed it, and that makes it special.
Yeah, and that is also with all the tours, also guided tours, semi-guided tours, what we offer, the personal extras from the guide who is doing that tour at that moment. If you do the same tour next year, or sometimes we have guests who do it twice a year, and you have another guide, then you hear other stories. Maybe it's the same story in other way told, but you hear other stories and you learn a lot about it, where you are cycling and about the countryside and the country around you.
Yeah. And what are the
oh yeah, well, I one very special place.
tell me.
Well, we have some ice skating in this country, and cycling races. And there's one family, the family Bos, who's ice skating and cycling, and they are living on the Veluwe. And they serve also tea and coffee. And when I'm there with a group, I stop over there and I give them a call in advance. Are you at home? Can I come there? Come to visit you? And then they open the room where they have all the prizes they won.
You mean Theo Bos?
Theo Bos and Jan Bos, yes. Yeah. And at that place there's a room, and they open it.
Yeah, they're athletic. They won medals at the Olympic Games.
World champions.
Yeah.
Olympic
both at cycling and at ice skating. Yes.
For many years, because they started off very young.
That's a nice
they won
surprise.
prize. Yeah. And if you are there, it's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 10 to 15 years ago they were active, so they're still young.
Yeah. And that's a special place. And they open it special for our guests and tell them. Well, they tell it in Dutch because they are not speaking the other languages very well. And then I am translating that and showing them around, because they haven't heard about Jan and Theo Bos.
Yeah,
and that's also a special place. Yeah.
The Americans know Eric Heiden maybe, but
somewhat like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he's the Dutch Eric Heidens.
Yep.
Yeah. That's nice. What are the challenges in your job? It's not hallelujah every day, I think. It was something.
The challenges, the most the important challenge is safety, and that's safety on the road. We are part of traffic. As a cyclist, and in this country we know it, that we on the bicycle we're part of the traffic, and there are traffic rules and etc. But in a lot of other countries where they are not always cycling, or they are not born on a bicycle as we have done, or educated with bicycle rules or bicycle education, traffic rules, etc. Then we have to tell them that they are part of traffic. It's not a toy. The traffic rules, if you take, for instance, on the bicycle, if you take a left, it's easy. You take your left arm to the left. But it's not common in other countries, overseas, that if you take a right, you do it with your right arm. They do it with your left arm high up, and then that's left. That's right. Going to the right. And then they say, well, it's not the signal taking a right.
So you
That's
say people are
hello.
Not, yeah. No. So as we Dutch, we are used to if we indicate by pointing the direction we are going.
Yeah.
Well, the young people in the Netherlands no longer do that.
Well, yes, so I'm
but that's something else. But
a lot of tours start in Amsterdam, and I'm always telling them
there's no rules in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, there are no rules. No.
But
traffic lights, safety, red light, you have to stop. And if you are in a group, you have also to stop, because the others are already to the other side. You have to stop. But bike safety, that's the most important thing around the tour. So there's a big, a good introduction for that. We have also a PowerPoint about that for the introduction, and we show them around. And during the week, it's important. And after the week, when nothing happened, then it was a good tour, because there were no accidents. Not real accidents, traffic accidents, that people fall from their bike. That's in some way, it looks like common, but that happens. But then they fall in the grass or somewhat like that. Or,
soft, yes.
Soft, yeah. But the traffic accidents.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I don't like that.
Of course not.
No, I don't like accidents. But that's the biggest.
Gijsbert, we're coming to the end of this episode. But since you're such an expert, I'd like to hear from you. How would you persuade, if needed, a person who doesn't know about boat bike tours to take a tour, to go on a tour? how would you say that? Why should someone go on a boat bike tour?
I think that are quality tours. So it is very important that also the guides are quality people. They're well trained. So all that kind of thing is good arranged. Next is that we give them also information about preparation, but that will be in other series. And we have a wide choice of tours. I think the widest choice of tours in Holland is bike and barge tours. And we have luxurious ships, we have the premium ships, we have the boutique ships, we have the cycling cruises. There are ships with 60 to 110 people, passengers, and they cycling themselves. That are also guests who know how to navigate. They have cycling experience, mostly from Western Europe, and they are guiding themselves.
Yeah.
And we have also the self-guided tours. Then the captain is giving the introduction where to go tomorrow, and the briefing, and then there's nobody on the road. But of most of the tours, we have also the guides who are on the road to give them assistance, and they can always, all the guests can call them on the road if they need help. So it's a very secured system to show you around. But the most important thing is you have to bike yourself.
But the key word is quality. That's what I'm picking up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quality, and what I feel from most tours, but also from most tour leaders I met, is passion. You're passionate about your job, and that's something I can see that's quite common within boat bike tours.
Yeah. I think that's important. There's also with active holidays, and that's also, you see it also with the guests. What is common with our guests? They are well prepared to do some activity during the holidays. And that's different from other river cruisers or somewhat like that, where are not active. No. So that's already in common, and that is in a couple of hours. You have the right atmosphere on board to make a fantastic week.
I think we could talk, if needed, for hours. You have loads of stories to share, but unfortunately we don't have time. If people want to know more about boat bike tours, the best thing is to go at the website. It's boatbiketours.com. And if you have feedback after listening to episode 1, please let us know. And please listen to episode number 2, with your colleague Arinda. And if you want to know the difference between Gouda cheese and Edam cheese, please check next episode. You know that, but I didn't know. But Arinda told me. Will tell. And I thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and sharing your experiences. And thank you all for listening and viewing. Thank you.